Everybody from Plant Reviews UK, today is the 29th of April, and in this video I'm showing you a few beautiful Phalaenopsis schillerianas. That is a species, Phalaenopsis. You usually find hybrids of Phalaenopsis available on the market and actually also in supermarkets, very common. This one is a species that it's not very difficult to find, but it is such a species in demand, and indeed I think is actually my favorite species of Phalaenopsis, that when it is available, usually it gets sold out very quickly. So I have to say, if you find the chance to buy it, go for it, because it will be possible again in the future, but the risk is always that the species gets sold out pretty quickly. Why this species is so popular? Well, as you can see, the flowers are actually pretty average. Phalaenopsis is a kind of, as obviously, I mean, they are beautiful, as you can see, but of course they are not particularly different from many of the hybrid Phalaenopsis that you find on the market. One of the reasons is that this species is usually one of the ancestors of the Phalaenopsis you find in the markets and the supermarkets, and indeed it resembles quite a lot the flowers at a superficial observation. However, if you go a little bit deeper in the shape of the flower, you see that most hybrids have actually a lip that is more filamentous than this one. This one is quite sharp at the end, and the filaments, this protrusion at the end, really don't extend very much, while in the normal Phalaenopsis flowers they can extend quite a lot, and they are very fine. I think actually the shape of the lip is a lot more graceful in many of the hybrid Phalaenopsis. This one is actually quite sharp at the end. Also, the lip of, well, the color of the hybrids obviously varies. Many hybrids have this pinkish coloration, and the schilleriana in particular, in addition to this still beautiful coloration, you can see how vivid is this pink, especially in the center of the flower, and then it kind of shades to a delicate pink at the edges of the flower. You can see also this pattern of small dots and spots that basically signal the entrance to the reproductive part of the flower, that is the column. This in particular, these two white dots at the top is the location of the pollinia, that is the location where the pollen of the plant of the orchid is located. And then you can see here at the back of the pollinia there is actually kind of a hole, a cavity, and this is the female part of the flower, the stigma, where the pollen will be deposited by the pollinators. However, obviously most of us don't really have any pollinating activity on orchids, even if obviously developing seed pods in orchids is a very interesting and fun activity. I tried a few times, and a couple of times I was successful. However, I didn't get the chance to seed the pod, put the seedlings, because they are quite to grow the seedlings, because they are quite demanding in growing conditions. I will try in the future. However, why this orchid is so popular then? Really, it's not the shape of the flower or even the color, I think, that makes this orchid so popular, but rather the fact that this is one of the few Phalaenopsis species that is scented, even if this one in particular is not as highly scented as the Phalaenopsis bellina or the Violacea. However, it produces a lot more flowers. This is quite a young plant, and it is the first blooming. And you can see that it produced about 4 flowers. However, adult plants can grow several dozens of flowers. And actually, if you see on internet images of the schilleriana, it is one of the most floriferous species, and that's the reason why it's often be used as ancestor, as a parent in the hybrids that we find so commonly in supermarket. The scent of this orchid kind of resemble to me roses. It is quite faint, also because this plant is it's a first blooming. First blooming plants, especially orchids, sometimes don't develop really a very intense fragrance. But the species itself is very well known to be fragrant, but not usually highly fragrant. So this is not a plant really I can recommend if you want to have the whole room smelling of roses or smelling of flowers. But if you like flowers that have a very delicate subtle scent that really doesn't give a headache, this is a species of orchid that I can definitely recommend. Also, this species of Phalaenopsis is extremely popular not only for the flowers, but actually for the leaves, that, as you can see, are beautifully spotted and show 2 colors, a kind of a silvery grayish background, on top of which dark green areas are present. Now, there are several varieties of Phalaenopsis and Phalaenopsis schilleriana, and I really wanted to show you a few that I have. And I think it's very interesting because you can see that the pattern of the leaf is actually different in different varieties. I will start with this one that is the one in blooming. This one is actually a hybrid between two varieties, Wild Mindoro and Tenshin, and I bought it from Spice Exotic Plants. That is a shop here in the United Kingdom that has really a great variety of plants, including the Phalaenopsis, several species and hybrids of Phalaenopsis, including schilleriana. I bought more recently another Phalaenopsis schilleriana, this one labeled instead just as Phalaenopsis schilleriana. Now you can see that the pattern is similar, but the variegation is different. This one in particular is a very fine variegation, and that almost covers the whole silvery background, so you can see how the leaves are actually different in these 2 varieties. I bought from Happy Orchids Farm 3 seedlings last year. One of them unfortunately died. I put them in bark, but I don't think the bark was very good in holding moisture, or maybe I did something wrong with the watering. Anyway, one of them died, and that was, if I remember correctly, the pink butterfly. And so I decided to buy another one, or maybe the Lupa. Sorry, it was the Lupa, I think, the one that died. And I decided to buy again the seedling of Lupa, and I decided not to keep it in bark, but to convert them immediately in semi-hydro. And I have to say that in my condition, semi-hydro works great. You can see, maybe not here so much. 1 second. I will try to keep it to get the pot out. Sorry, I show you my fish rather than the orchids. So you can see here how well the root is developing in semi-hydro. I think the bark really was not able to, was having a lot of variation between moisture and drought. So this one in particular suffered a lot this variation, and but since I repotted in semi-hydro is a lot happier. And you can see that some leaves died, but two new leaves are starting to grow, and even in this one you can see how different it is. You can see this very fine green pattern, really more like spots, sorry, more like points, dots, rather than a spot on this silver background. This one in particular is called TKB. This variety TKB I found in internet that comes from the TKB area in the Philippines. It is supposed to be to have extremely fragrant flowers, but I wouldn't bet on that because honestly the species itself it's never been considered highly fragrant. But I really wanted to have a nice variety of schillerianas to see the difference. Another thing I got for up orchid farm is the lupa that, as I said, unfortunately the seedling died, so I decided to buy another one. And this one is a schilleriana that is a bit different. You can see that the spotting is heavier in this one, and it is darker than the plant, the adult plant, the plant in bloom. And this one in particular, the lupa, is supposed to be another very fragrant schilleriana. However, you can see really how different is the foliage, even more different from the TKB. However, the one that I honestly prefer of all for the foliage is a variety called Pink Butterfly. And you can see this variety is called Pink Butterfly because the flowers are supposed to be the largest of all the Phalaenopsis schillerianas. And however, the Pink Butterfly, that is this one, is not is also, I found, one of the least fragrant. Sometimes, usually, this variety is not fragrant at all. This is what I found in Instagram and in internet. But you can see really how the gray background is really takes over against the dark spotting. So the leaves is mostly grayish, sorry, green-gray, not gray-brown. You can see really how the grayish color, grayish-bluish color of the leaf is taking over the whole leaf, with a few spots of dark green. The average price for this species is between £20 for the seedlings, while the adults can be between £30 and £35. Sometimes you find a little bit less, sometimes you find a little bit more expensive, but definitely it is a plant that among Phalaenopsis it is quite expensive just because it's very much in demand. It is not a plant difficult to grow at all. I've been keeping this Phalaenopsis since about a year, and it bloomed actually in my care. So, and I have to say I didn't have much time to take care of the orchids in the past year. So if I was able to bloom this plant, definitely is one of the easiest plant to bloom. However, the seedlings also are doing pretty well. This one is I've kept them since last summer, so it is about 8 or 9 months I've kept these plants. This one instead I got it just I think 3 or 4 weeks ago, but it's still doing pretty well. It is in moss. However, I don't recommend really to keep in moss, especially if you have in winter in the house you have pretty cold conditions, because I found this plant is really sensitive to variations in humidity, and really many Phalaenopsis have easy issues in rotting, including this species. So what I would suggest, if you live in the United Kingdom or you have anyway indoor growing condition, I would, that's a pretty warm indoor temperature, maybe not much humidity, especially when you keep the heaters on in winter. I found really semi-hydro is a great way to keep this species, because it allows consistent moisture during the year. Some people say this plant needs some drought to flower, some like a little bit cooler and a little bit drier period in order to flower well, but I'm not too sure if the blooming would have been better if I had this plant in conditions a little bit cooler and drier, but I think that for being a first bloomer, it is an absolutely great blooming with these 4 flowers. And the smell as well is very nice. The shape of the flower, as I said, depends really by the variety. Most schillerianas don't have big flowers. This is about maybe 5-6 centimeters across. I know that, as I said, the pink butterfly can get bigger flowers, but obviously don't imagine the size of the supermarket Phalaenopsis hybrids that are that have really huge flowers. One thing also that I like a lot of this plant are actually the roots. They're not really round as many Phalaenopsis, but they are more ribbon shape. I'm not too sure if actually can show them maybe better in one of the seedlings. Yeah, you can actually see here that they are not really round, but they are a little bit flat. Sorry, again, I am focusing on my fish. But yeah, you can see they are quite flat, the roots, and that's a nice difference from the typical Phalaenopsis. I hope not to get the plant out of the pot. Yeah, you can see really the ribbon-like roots in this plant. Consider the size of the leaves. You can see really how nicely are growing in semi-hydro. The species has been known since I think the 1800. Maybe I think 1860, if I remember correctly, was Reichenbach to classify the species, and the name Phalaenopsis means moth-looking, so similar to a moth again for the shape of the flower, and schilleriana was named, the specific epithet is due to I think Consul Schiller, who was the person who was able to bloom this orchid. Was able to bloom this orchid and show it to, if I remember correctly, to show it to Reichenbach. Or Reichenbach knew that Schiller was able to bloom this orchid and saw this plant in blooming, so was able to so decided to basically dedicate the species to Consul Schiller. However, I might remember not very well, so don't bet on it, but this is the story as much as I remember. However, again, if you don't, this plant is very easy to grow. If you are not really familiar with the semi-hydro, you can grow this plant in bark or in moss, but remember to ensure constant moisture to the mix, and remember to ensure that there is no water pooling in the leaves, because again, this species is very sensitive to rot and to crown rot, like many other Phalaenopsis. So really don't risk to lose this plant, because it's such a beautiful plant, and again, even when not in blooming, the leaves are absolutely incredible. And really, I really think that the pink butterfly has the most amazing leaves of the varieties I have, as you can see. So if you want to go for a really nice looking Phalaenopsis species for its foliage, I think really that the pink butterfly is the one that you should get. If you want to go for fragrance, it is a bit a hit and miss, because as I said, this species is not known to be particularly fragrant. However, this one, as it is in blooming, I can tell you that the Wild Mindoro cross Teshin is actually fragrant. You have any way to really stick the nose into the flower to smell the fragrance. And another, now it's about 3 p.m. in the afternoon. Another thing that affects the fragrance is that this plant is fragrant on very sunny days. Many orchids that bloom during the day or have daylight pollinators have the peak of their scent during obviously daylight hours, and if there is the sun shining, the scent, the fragrance is even stronger. If an orchid is night pollinated, usually the smell tend to be most intense at dusk and sunset, through the night, and very 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 early morning when it starts fading. So that's another factor to take into consideration when you buy fragrant orchids. If you're away all day long and you come back in the evening, really, I would recommend night fragrant orchids so you can enjoy really the fragrance when you come home. However, probably in the weekend you are able still to to be at home during the day, so it's still nice to have some orchids that are fragrant during daylight. As usual, if you want some recommendations for fragrant orchids or in general fragrant plant and fragrant flowers that I do love, please let me know in the comment down below, and I will be more than happy to recommend you according to my experience. As usual, I thank you very much for watching this video, and it would be great if you can please subscribe if you like this video and if you like my channel, and of course, if you like the video, also give a thumbs up. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you next time, and also happy Easter everybody.